Welcome to Lesson 213, Comparing Ratios. Today we're going to talk about how to use tables to compare ratios, and then how to solve problems involving ratios using the strategy Find the Pattern. Alright, so Kevin's cookie recipe uses a ratio of 4 parts flour to 2 parts sugar. Anna's recipe uses 5 parts flour to 3 parts sugar. Could the recipes make the same cookies? So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you have your ratios set up the same. So if I'm going to do a ratio of sugar to flour, or flour to sugar, I need to make that decision and then stick with it for both ratios. Since it's in the order of flour to sugar, that's the way I'm going to set up my ratio. So I know the first ratio in Kevin's recipe is 4 to 2, and then in Anna's recipe is 5 to 3. Then what we can do is we can use a table to help us compare the ratios to see if they will ever make the same kind of cookies. Right, so you can go ahead and draw a table, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit easier. Draw a box with our shape tool. All right. Okay, and then I need to draw another table for the other recipe. Okay, and then I'm going to put my lines in. Now remember, these don't have to be perfect drawings. We're just using them to help us figure out our answers. Okay, and I always put a couple of boxes in. Sometimes we'll use them all, sometimes we won't use them all. It's just a matter of how long it takes us to find a common number in our ratio. Alright, so on the top, I'm going to put Kevin's recipe. And we are doing flour to sugar. And then the bottom is Anna's recipe. And we're doing flour to sugar. And I know my ratio here is 4 to 2. And down here it's 5 to 3. Alright, well if I go with making ratios like I did before in our tables, we can say that I know if I have 8 parts flour that I have to have 4 parts sugar. If I have 12 parts of flour, I have to have 6 parts sugar. And remember, we can check this by our pictures. So 4 to 2, so our picture should always look like this. If I do 1, 2, 3, 4, so now I have 8 parts flour, and I have 4 parts sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4 gives me 12 parts flour. Then 2 down here gives me 6 parts sugar. So I know I'm going the right way. If I have 16 parts flour, I have to have 8 parts sugar. And if I have 20 parts flour, I have to have 10 parts sugar. Right, so we're going to just do the first 5, and then we're going to look up here and see if we can ever get the amount of flour to match the amount of flour up here. And in order for them to make the same recipe, the flour to sugar ratio has to be the same. So I know that if I do 10 parts sugar, that I have to do 10 parts of flour, I have to do 6 parts sugar. If I do 15 parts of flour, I have to do 9 parts sugar. And if I do 20 parts flour, I have to do 12 parts sugar. I know I can stop here because if I look, I see that I have 20 parts flour and 20 parts flour. Now, to make them make the same recipe, they have the same first number, they have the same parts of flour, now they have to have the same parts of sugar. However, since 10 and 12 are not the same, we can conclude that Kevin and Anna's recipes will not make the recipes the same, or not make the cookies the same. So like I said before, you have to have a common number, whether that number is the first number or second number. You have to choose which one you're going to look at though, and then that other number also has to be the same. So like I said, here we had 20 parts flour and 20 parts flour, which meant if we wanted to make the same type of recipe, since Kevin's used 10, then Anna's would have to use 10. Or since Anna's used 12, Kevin's would have to use 12. Since that's not the case, our answer to the question is no, they do not make the same cookies. All right, so our next problem, Sarah bought 3 tickets to see One Direction for $150. Julie bought 5 tickets for $250. Did they pay the same price for the tickets? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to create your own table and come to your own conclusion, and when you come back, we'll go over your answer. All right, so once again, we're going to make a table just like we did in the first problem. Right, and then on top, we're going to do Sarah's prices or tickets. And on the bottom, we can do Julie's. And the ratio is going to be, so we have to look here, we have tickets and price. So Sarah got 3 tickets for the price of $150. So if she would have bought 6 tickets, she would have paid $300. If she would have gotten 9 tickets, that would have been $450. Okay, if she would have gotten 12 tickets, that would have been $600. Right, and I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to start to look at Julie's. So Julie's tickets had a ratio of 5 tickets for $250. So she had 5 tickets, and the price was $250. So I'm going to look here, and I know easily I can tell that 3 and 5 both will go to 15. So I'm actually going to make my table here go to 15. So I know if Sarah bought 15 tickets, she would have had to pay $750. So let's continue that pattern down here with Julie to see if it's the same. If Julie would have bought 10 tickets, it would have been $500. And if she would have bought 15 tickets, it would have been $750. All right, so here we go. We have the number of tickets being the same. In this case, the number of tickets purchased was the 15. And then the price of the tickets was $750 for both of them. So we can conclude that Sarah and Julie did pay the same price for the tickets. Even though we're looking at 3 tickets being $150 and 5 tickets being $250, because we were able to compare them with a common number of tickets and got a common price, we can conclude that it was the same. All right, so the last problem here is Aaron buys 2 video games for every 5 books. Eric buys 3 games for every 7 books. Are their ratios of videos to books the same? So what I want you to do is I want you to draw your table, and I want you to come to your conclusion, and when you come to class, we will check your answer. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to post them to Edmodo so we can go over them in class. I know this is a shorter lesson. However, the more you work with it, the more you will understand it. So again, if you have any questions, be sure to post them to Edmodo.